Hey, how about it, race fans? Richard Allen of motorsportsreport.net coming at you with one of my richest ramblings. Now that my summertime work schedule has come to an end, I've got a little bit more time to maybe do things like this, or maybe post more stories on the website. And by the way, I wore this Tennessee shirt where I know it says Tennessee basketball, but we're approaching football season time, so I wanted my friends around the SEC to be able to see the orange I've got going on here. But what I want to talk about today is what a crazy dirt late model season we have seen so far, and we're now approaching the end of July, but we're right in the middle of all those the big races that always come about throughout the summer and the fall on the dirt late model schedule. But my roots don't go as deep in this sport as a lot of other people who cover it, like say a Michael Rigsby or a Todd Turner or someone like that who've been around for a long time. My roots only go back to around 2008 when I started doing this, but I don't recall, and I'd say based on social media reactions, I don't think hardly anybody recalls a season playing out quite the way this is. We've had so many high-profile driver changes. I mean, you've had last year's World 100 winner and Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series champion Hudson O'Neal left his ride right there, very early in the season. He left what many people consider one of the most coveted rides in dirt late model racing, that Rocket Chassis house car. But he left it, sort of went out on his own, but now, in another location. And we had a guy who really just dominated the headlines in 2023. Ricky Thornton Jr. won over 30 races, was right there in the middle of that Final Four, Championship Four, with the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series at the Dirt Track World Championship at Eldora, just kind of losing out there. But we've seen him change rides, leaving from SSI Motorsports over to the Kohler Motorsports, where he's teamed up with a four-time champion, Jimmy Owens. There we've seen Tim McCreadie, one of the very few people who has won the World of Outlaws Championship and the Lucas Oil Championship within his career, but he left his Paler Motorsports ride, Donald Bradsher, to go to the Rocket House car when Hudson O'Neal left there. So just crazy how this has happened in mid-season. If these things had happened during the off season, we may not consider it that wild of a thing, but it happening right here in mid-season is hard to fathom almost. But and some of those guys, they look like they've landed in good places. We're seeing success come from O'Neal, from McCreadie, from Thornton as well. So it's not like they're out on the street with nothing to do. They're doing well where they are. But why is all this happening? Where'd this come from? Because we've never seen these high profile of moves in the middle of a season before. So I think we have seen in the past people changing engine suppliers or chassis suppliers, things like that. Everybody trying to gain that little competitive edge, and maybe to a degree, whether it be from the owners, from the drivers, crews, whoever, maybe some of that's playing a role as well. But I think where a lot of this is coming from is, over the last several years, and I kind of use 2020, the COVID year, as kind of a breaking point where we saw streaming come in and really be such a major factor in dirt late model racing. And along with that came these really increased purses where before a 50,000 to win race was a little bit of a rarity and is a really big deal. Now there's quite a few 50,000 to win races, and we're seeing 100,000 to win races, 125,000 to win races, stuff like that. So there's a lot of money has come in, and you think, well, this is what we hoped for. This is what we wanted to have happen for years. We wanted dirt late model racing to get pushed to kind of the top of the motorsports headlines, on the top of the page. But along with that, if you're going to take all that money and have all that exposure, all that limelight that comes with it, there's a price to be paid on the other end, because that money doesn't just appear out of nowhere. Whether it be the streaming services, sponsors, whoever. I know people don't like comparisons between dirt racing and NASCAR, but where we are right now, you almost have to make those comparisons, because NASCAR, when it exploded years ago, it exploded because of cable television. ESPN came in, TNN, and some other networks like that, and we went from where we used to have to listen to NASCAR races on the radio to now they're all televised. Well, again, that didn't come for free. Their sponsors had to be involved in all this, or as NASCAR refers to them, they're stakeholders. NASCAR has major sponsors that play a role in the sport. They have the teams, they have the team owners, you have all these people that develop the pieces and parts for the cars, and they're all what's considered stakeholders. And anytime there's a major move to be made, whether it's changing the point system or whatever, changes to the schedule, whatever, the stakeholders have to be considered. And of course, among those stakeholders, the TV networks. Well, among the dirt late model stakeholders, of course, you have sponsors, you have various series. You've got 4 national touring series now. Not only you got Lucas and World of Outlaws, you got the Castrol Flow Racing Night in America, which was created by a streaming service, and you got the XR Super Series, again, primarily meant for a streaming service. So you have a major stakeholder are the streams, the broadcasters. And then of course you've got sponsors who are involved in that coverage, and they want their name front and center. They're not just putting money in dirt late model racing just for the fun of it. They want exposure. Well, along with all that come demands and come increased pressure. And of course, all these teams have sponsored. Dirt late model racing is so expensive. I was showing my wife that my wife doesn't follow racing in any form, and I was showing her, just how expensive this stuff can be. Someone had put a message on Facebook that they were selling their hauler, and they're selling the hauler for $600,000. Well, my wife and I and our 3 kids, we live in a pretty nice house. Now, granted, we bought it back in 2001, so we bought it a long time ago. But we live in a pretty nice house. We paid $150,000 for that house. So based on what we gave for it over 20 years ago, we would have to buy and sell that house 4 times to buy that one hauler. So, that's kind of the thing. An engine, we're talking like $50,000 in expense. All this. If you decided today you wanted to start a brand new race team, you're looking at easily $250,000 to $500,000 just to get going. Not to run the full schedule or anything. We're just talking, just to get going, to actually put a car in that hauler and move to the track. And so then there's all kinds of other expenses come with that. Well, you need sponsors for that. Well, sponsors have expectations. They want to be in certain races. They want to know why are we not on the front row in this race? Why are we starting 18th? Why did we not finish? Why did we not finish on the podium? Why did we finish 12th? That sponsors they expect something for their investment. And same's true with all the stakeholders, whether it be the streams. Dirt racing is no longer a sport that survives off the ticket booth. And, it hasn't been for quite a while. So, people harken back to the old days and talk about the good old days and how it used to be and all this sort of stuff. Those days are gone. Any track promoter who thinks I'm going to make a living based on selling tickets, there's no way. You can't pay a $50,000 or even a $20,000 to win purse on grandstand. It just won't happen. You've got to, of course, you got to sell pit passes, you got to sell souvenirs, concessions, all these other things. Hope that you get some money out of the streaming deal. All that sort of stuff has to take place to make this thing work. It's why we're seeing some of these streaming services actually lease the track to run their races, because they need that content, they need that material. So you got all these stakeholders, and like I said, nobody likes a comparison to NASCAR, but reality's reality. And NASCAR has to depend on its stakeholders. Big money brings big pressure, and big pressure brings big expectations. And so, with all that combined, I mean, that's where we are in the state of dirt late model racing today. Seeing all these driver changes, maybe brought on by stakeholders, maybe brought on by the pressure that's there. Whatever the reason, things like this have not happened before. So why are they suddenly happening now? Well, it's because of the change of the landscape. Like I said, this is not a survive by the ticket booth sport anymore. It just isn't. Things change. They're not going backwards. You can hearken for the old days all you want to. You're not going backwards. So, once all this money and these stakeholders and these sponsors and everything get introduced, they ain't going back. So, and I know that hurts, weekly shows. It hurts support classes. But it's just the reality of what is today. So from my view, that's kind of the state of where dirt late model racing is today. It's not the sport it used to be, because you've brought in all these other elements that have changed things, maybe for the better, maybe for the worse. I know I enjoy watching the big races. I enjoy watching guys race for $50,000, $100,000, putting it all on the line. That played Eldora and Knoxville and places like that, and Florence. I love watching that stuff. I love watching them react to the pressure, but at the same time, it's changed the sport. It's made it a much different sport than what it used to be. So anyway, those are my thoughts for today. Like I said, I'm trying to have a few more of these. It's hard to stay consistent. I'm a teacher, and we're not too far away from starting the school year, so that's my first obligation. Obviously, that's what takes care of my family. But try to do a few more of these from time to time as well. But anyway, from now, this is Richard Allen of motorsportsreport.net saying I will see you at the track.